Morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mark. But what a morning. And we're recording this in your, I guess, kitchen.
Lounge
And
room.
as I look out the window, it's a panoramic view of the ocean at Ocean Grove. And the whitecaps are really moving. And I came via the surf beach, and there's plenty of people in the water.
Yeah, it's a very sunny
That's
day.
right there.
So lots been happening. We both went to the Geelong Chamber of Commerce after 5 last night, which was very good.
Out at Federal Mills.
With Microkeeper as the host, who you've tracked him down, so we'll interview them at some stage.
We will. It's a big turnout. It's interesting. It's probably the one business event each month in Geelong where they do get a couple of hundred people along just for a couple of hours, which is good.
Which was good. So,
Yep.
Bill, today's guest, who is it?
All right. Today we're talking to Jesse Borg. Jesse Borg, guesswork. His company is by a name which he's got two names, but we'll know him as Colac Dairies. All right, I guess. Good morning, Jesse. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Just quickly, tell us who is Colac Dairies?
So Colac Dairies is a distributor for Bega, milk and juice and yogurt products.
Yep.
It's a business I acquired a year and 3 months ago.
Yep.
And I've been steadily trying to get it up and growing a little bit more, doing a bit more than just working with Bega, and just been growing it from there.
That's right. And you do have a contract with Illawarra Sourdough.
That is correct. 6 months ago, I signed a contract with Illawarra Sourdough to deliver their bread from Colac or Illawarra down to Melbourne and all around the coastal area.
So do you focus, Jesse, on Colac as an area, that sort of southwest Victoria, or that's just part of your group?
No. So I originally started in Melbourne, just doing single jobs for myself. Obviously, my company is not just a distributor for Bega. I have a full-blown transport company. I've got trucks, bikes, vans, cars, etc.
Yep.
I actually started growing a lot in North Victoria, so up near the Albury area.
Yep.
And then I've always been based in Melbourne myself, so I've been working remotely from there. And then I got introduced to Colac Dairies as a business to a friend of mine. And then I've started to go there. I've kind of found my roots in Colac now and feel like that's the area I'm now focusing on.
We'll come back to that in a minute.
We'll take it in a circle. So, Jesse, our first question we always ask is, where did you go to primary school?
Primary school.
Do you remember
I went to a place. I do. I went to a place called Resurrection Primary School in St. Albans.
Oh, okay. So it's still there?
It is still there, I think. I'm not sure if they've changed names, but I haven't been past there in a long time.
Yeah.
And then high school?
High school, I went to a high school called Copperfield College in Sydenham, and then Kings Park, and then Delahaye.
Okay. And while you were at high school, did you have any sort of part-time jobs? And we always ask this because we can age people by what they say.
Yes. Okay. So I definitely had a part-time job. I probably had a part-time job before I was legally allowed to.
Yep.
I used to work on and off with my dad and my brothers
Yep.
before I was of age to work an actual job. I'm pretty sure they just didn't pay me back then or paid me with McDonald's.
That's right.
But from the moment I could work, which I think is 14 and 9 months, I got my first job at KFC. I worked in the back cooking chicken.
Yep.
And then I've pretty much had a job the whole time. I have not stopped working ever.
Yep. Fantastic.
All right. So did you go right through year 12?
I did. I took a break in year 10 to try to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yep.
So I went to TAFE to do a pre-apprenticeship.
That's a good idea.
And then, and then my dad said, I still want you to finish high school. So I went back and was able to do year 11 and 12. I finished that and then started my apprenticeship.
So what was the apprenticeship in?
I was an electrician. I started as a maintenance electrician for Melbourne Grammar School, which is obviously quite prestigious school in Melbourne. And I was a maintenance electrician there for 2 years. After those 2 years, I moved to commercial, where I did mostly Bunnings buildings and some other schools, but on a much bigger basis.
Oh, interesting. And do you still keep your hand on the tools for electrical stuff, or it's long
Not
gone?
at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I, to be honest with you, I couldn't stand it then. I can't stand it even more now. I'm actually petrified of spiders. So working in a roof to be an electrician is not a good idea.
That's right. So you're jogging along as an electrician or an apprentice, whatever it is. What made you jump ship?
Well, after my apprenticeship, I knew that I did not want to be an electrician anymore. I couldn't actually figure out what I wanted to do. I was in that area where I was just a bit lost. I was a bit young. I just couldn't figure it out. So I actually went to uni to study network engineering because I figured I liked computers at the time and I was an electrician. So merging them together was network engineering, which is setting up internets or intranets with servers and computers in buildings. I did that for about a year. I hated it more than anything. Realized that wasn't for me either. So I went out working with my dad, working on his business. That was just a one-man show. Kind of found a little bit of a passion for it, working on my own, figuring out stuff on my own, and then just kind of went from there.
What was your dad's business?
Originally, it used to be a panel beating business that he owned with my brothers when I worked with him.
Yep.
Then he moved on he was just semi-retired. He was working part-time, just doing contracts for Oz Post.
Yep.
And I took over that contract when he fell ill. And then I just kind of kept growing it from there. So I took on a contract for Oz Post in Mildura, which was obviously a long way away from Melbourne.
Sure was.
And I definitely did something right because they kept offering me more after that. Which thankfully they were a lot closer than Mildura, easy to drive to. So once I started doing that, I just started seeing the opening for the business that I was wanting to do, which was transport. And the main reason I wanted to do transport was purely because every day is different in transport. You never know what you're going to get. You never know where you're going. And that's the kind of thing I liked. I didn't want to be stagnant or in one place for too long.
That's really cool. So, I mean, the transport industry or the freight industry is tough. Lots of businesses crumble over the years. So, do you keep your eye out for opportunities to pick up companies around you and merge in? And because that seems to be the way the industry is moving.
I absolutely do. So, it's very hard to compete if you're starting with nothing. Okay, because obviously there's other companies out there with much bigger vehicles, much bigger pockets, much bigger everything, and they always most people in the transport industry find it really hard to create runs. So going from one place to another, unless you've got a contract in place, it's very difficult to do that. So the way I plan on growing my business now is to one, show people that I'm capable and I can do it. And I can bat for them 100%. So, for example, Irawara Sourdough. So my pitch to her was that I will be 100% dedicated to her and make sure I get everything done the way she wants me to do it. Once I've proven myself, I can try to grow within their company. I can try to help their company grow by expanding their reach, which is the ideal scenario for me and for them. Yeah. But acquiring new businesses would be ideal for me. It's obviously just about getting the funding to increase that.
Yep, to do it.
Look, it is tough because you're in what we call short haul. You don't do any long haul, do you? Or do you?
Not at the minute. Yeah. Not at the minute. It is my dream to do long haul. I would love to do that. It's obviously a very competitive market. But it would be my dream over the years to start moving into longer haul.
Yeah, I've had experience with a courier company, a well-known one that's based in Lara, right, called Josie's. And I ran that for a year. And then I also worked for one of the largest transport companies that's actually originally based in Colac. And it was difficult, or it got more difficult, particularly for that smaller stuff, because being in Lara then and trying to go to the other side of Melbourne started to become impossible. You'd have drivers leaving, and I know you have to do this, but you'd be sending trucks out at 2:00 in the morning to get to the other side of Melbourne.
Yeah. Yes, correct. The traffic is horrendous. It is. You look on the maps to see how long it would take you to get there. At one part of the day, it might take you 5 hours. Yeah. At the next part of the day, when it's busy, it might take you 8 hours. It's the going through the city makes things very difficult.
Has the tunnel made any difference to you, Jesse? Have you played with it yet?
I have. It does not.
Yeah.
It cuts off time if I'm going to that one particular part of Melbourne.
Yeah.
But if I need to go on the other side, it's no use to
So
me.
you've got to go over the West Gate regardless. Then.
That's correct.
That's it. The other interesting bit with freight is, companies like Amazon, they just rely on people with their cars.
That's correct.
Which is an interesting model, isn't it? Because then, Amazon does deliver, but the number of complaints that they've gone to the wrong address and they just drop it at your front door, they don't ring your doorbell and off they go. It's a different service model. It's probably just, here's your parcel, good luck.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. So for them, it's probably cost them more to go back out and fix that parcel than it does just to replace that parcel.
Yeah.
Because they have such a wide range and deep pockets, for them, it doesn't matter. For me, losing a parcel or losing someone's load would be devastating for both me and the owner of the item.
Yeah.
So I can't really do that. So I make sure everything's done perfect.
So are you operating out of warehouses? I think you've got one in Port Melbourne that I recall. And what do you have in Colac?
So I do have a factory in Colac. It's just behind the Kmart hub there. I have cold storage and some smaller storage areas there. The one out in Port Melbourne is just a rented one. I do have another one in Sydenham, near where I live, where I can store and send things from.
And tell me, with I guess, what's the biggest cost issue you face in your business right now? Everyone's talking about rising costs and the cost of doing business is going up, but you can't, unless your contracts are structured differently, but you contract to people and you've set your price, but prices keep going up. How do you overcome that?
I normally put in a clause for every year on July 1st to do a review of the contract pricing. Whether that gets approved or not, different story. Whether it's needed or not is a different story. So in the past year, fuel prices have actually come down, but the cost of vehicle maintenance has skyrocketed. So fuel prices come down, I think it was like 3% off the top of my head, but vehicle maintenance has gone up 15.5%.
Wow.
So right now, my biggest cost is vehicle maintenance by far, because it's not just the cost of paying a mechanic to fix it or a diesel mechanic to fix it. It's the cost of having to replace that vehicle. So if that vehicle's off the road for a month, for example, because it blows the gearbox, I have to then rent a vehicle to replace that vehicle for a whole month, which is $200-$300 a day. So those costs go way up.
What's driven the cost drive so high?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. I don't think parts have gone up that much. I know labour costs have gone up a lot, like the wages that business would have to pay for staff. But yeah, I think general cost of everything has gone up. So cost of rent, so that person would have to pay them more rent, which means the price that I pay goes up.
Yeah.
Tell me, Jesse, what sort of systems and processes have you put in place? Because you've got a diverse, I guess, range of customers and routes and deliveries to do. And secondary to that, have you embraced AI?
Okay, so I definitely embraced AI.
Yeah.
For my route planning, AI is by far the easiest tool for me to use. So I used to go through on Google Maps or a satellite mapping website to try to figure out my routes for my drops.
Yeah.
I no longer have to do that. I just punch the addresses into AI. It spits out back at me, the best route, the most efficient, the best time, how many people to put on that route to be not overtime paying, everything like that. It's very, very good. I also use it right now for all my timesheet calculating for all my employees and everything like that. It makes everything a lot quicker.
What version are you using? What are you using?
I use ChatGPT, the paid version at the minute.
Yep.
Just because obviously I need that little bit more scalability in it, and it doesn't always have the free version doesn't give you the best answers most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, last night that presentation we went to was with a company called Microkeeper, and they've developed all this software that does scheduling and wages and or all that sort of thing, and I can guarantee you it's all AI generated.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, Jesse, because there's companies that are embracing AI, which you obviously have, and then there's others that are still not sure. So you've got that competitive edge. So that's really good.
Yeah, I think me being a little bit younger, because I'm only 34.
Yep.
I'm very open to computers as well. Obviously, with my past, I used to build them when I was younger, and I obviously worked in data centers and whatnot. So I'm very open to it. The only thing that kind of ticks me off a little bit is AI is very confident with what it says.
Yep.
And it's not always correct.
That's true.
So, yeah, sometimes I have to double check the routes because I'm like, oh, that one doesn't make sense. And I look at it and it'll say it with all the confidence in the world, but it'll be completely wrong.
Yep. But that's what they say, is that you've just got to keep an eye on it and just ask the right questions. Yep.
Yeah. As long as you know what you're asking, like
Yep.
you have some understanding of it, I think you should be fine.
Now, Jesse, have you got family?
I do. I have a wife and 2 kids.
Yep. How old are they? Not your
My
wife,
daughter-
but 2 kids.
My daughter is 4 and my son is 2.
Oh, you've only just started, haven't you?
I have only just started.
Long way to go.
Yeah.
So-
Definitely a long way to go.
So Jesse, what's your plan? 5 years time? Where's Jesse going to be?
Yeah, 5 years' time, I would like to essentially double or even triple my business. But the main thing I am focused on in 5 years is I would like to move away from smaller deliveries and go into larger, long-distance deliveries. Now, obviously, that is a very competitive market, but that is my idea.
Do you think you'll do that organically, or that you might have to look at acquisitions?
No, look, right now I'm actually trying to do it organically. I've actually recently just hired someone to help me get new business.
Yeah.
So I'm having them call fruit producers, etc., just to see if I can get even just my foot in the door and just say, look, let me handle one run for you from here to Adelaide, for example, and then we'll go from there. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, that's fine. That's all me. So that my idea is to go organically with what I've currently got.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing an acquisition. I would be fine with that, but I would like to do it organically first.
And how big's your team, Jesse?
Currently, I have, I think, 28 employees.
Yeah.
I'm very close with all of them. I know them all very well. I speak to them all almost every week just to have a chat about how things are going. Because they all work remotely, and some of them work just by themselves. They're not really in a team. They're in just areas where they operate with just themselves. I like to keep in touch.
So who owns the vehicles?
I own all of them.
All right. Yeah. So that's...
And so the drivers, your employees or contracting employees? Because there's a bit of a... Sorry?
So I used to have subcontractors that work for me.
Yep.
It's kind of a catch-22, right? So the subcontractors, they look after themselves, they do the job, but it's just overall, it's just more complicated and it's just not worth it, in my opinion.
Yep.
So I currently have all employees.
Well, that's very good.
Yeah. Now, if I asked you to write a book about how to handle employees, what would you put in it?
Oh, that's a hard one. Every employee is different, is probably the first thing. Some employees respond really well to criticism, others don't.
Yeah.
Others respond really well to encouragement, and others don't. The first thing I would do is, make sure that you are that people person. If you want to have 30 employees, you've got to be a people person. You can't be managing from someone that doesn't want to talk to other people. It's not going to work. You need to be having a good time with those employees, but also setting boundaries. And sometimes that's really hard to do.
Now, Bill normally asks a follow-up question to that, and I'll jump in ahead of him. If we interviewed your 28 employees or the drivers, not your other staff, how would they say your management style's like? What would they tell us? And maybe they'll be listening to this, so be careful.
Yeah, maybe they will be. I think most of them would be that I'm fair, and that I'm pretty lenient until things go wrong that shouldn't have gone wrong. When things go wrong that shouldn't have gone wrong, I have to obviously come down a little bit, but I never like doing that. It's the worst part of the job by far. But I'm friends with most of them on a friendly basis. Like when I go travel into these areas, I take them out for dinner. ask them if there's anything I can improve. I try to make it a good work environment for them. So I think that would be like he's a good boss, I think.
You think? Well, following on from that, I have often, when I've been working with some family companies, asked not only the family members but the top employees to tell me what the vision or the mission or the purpose of the business is, and not once ever have I got the same answer from one group. So what response would I get from your group?
I think it would depend on the area that you went to. So if I sent you to Albury, my manager up there definitely knows what my vision is up there. Yeah. There is another big distributor up there that I'm looking at acquiring and then growing that bigger side of the business from there. But if you went down to my Colac side of the business, she would know that I'm trying to grow in the volume that I am doing for other people. So whether that's the bread or whether that's long haul or whatnot, she would know that part. But the part in Albury would have no idea about any of that.
Did you see the financial results from Bega this week?
I have not seen them, no.
They're very good, by the way.
You better
go and look it up. No.
Yeah, I could imagine so. They've been sending me newsletters all week about it coming up, but I have not seen the actual answers to it just yet.
No, it was in the financial press, I think, maybe this morning or yesterday. And that's the other thing is that the clients you've got, you've really got to aim for the clients that have got longevity and, have got the right products, have got the right brands, and that hopefully are stable for as long as you want them to service them.
Yeah, definitely. So because I'm so young and I'm getting into this business at a young age, I need someone that's going to work with me for 10 years. I'm not looking for a 1-year contract. I'm looking for a 10-year plus contract or a contract that can proceed into 10 years as long as everything goes right. Yep. So that's my idea. So I'm definitely looking for bigger companies to show them I can do the right thing. I do have 2 of those on board. I work for Ozpost, is the other big company I work for. Yep. And obviously they've been around for forever. I couldn't even tell you, forever, basically. So I've got longevity there, and Big has been around for a long time and is doing well, so I've got longevity there.
Yeah, and as you said right back when we first started, you don't want to be single point sensitive. So if Bega is your main, you need to have others because if Bega suddenly gets the price rise or something happens and they say, right, we're going this way, you don't want to lose your business. So it's good that you're thinking about how to expand it and broaden it. So that's good.
That's correct. Yeah,
you've got to have the right mix behind it. So now, from a managing a business point of view, how do you manage and, I guess, process your finances? Do you do budgets? Do you do reviews? Cash flow forecasts? All of that. So how do you handle that?
So I've got, obviously I use an accounting software called Xero. Yep. And basically I've broken that down into categories and every aspect of my business. So everywhere I've got a contract, I obviously have my wages going there. Anything that costs me for that, I got in there. Every 3 months or so, I do a review of that contract and I check if I'm making money or not making money, and then I proceed from there. So if I've got to make a few changes to fix it up, or if I've got to, ask that contract, the person that's given me the contract, be like, it's unplausible, I need to increase the money by this amount to get me into the green. That's what I do. But lately, they've all been pretty good purely because fuel prices come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have an accountant, Jesse?
I definitely have an accountant, yes. I would not be able to do this without him.
So they're actively involved in your business? And
they are, yes.
Yeah, cool. Very good.
Proactive and not reactive.
Yep.
I hate it when I go to a business and they're say every quarter or every month. My issue with a lot of small businesses and similar business to yours in size is they're always looking backwards and not forwards.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and that's... so what advice would you give to a 30-year-old who's stuck in their job and is thinking about going out on their own and doing something?
You just got to try it. You just got to keep going. And if your work ethic is good enough, you'll get there. Because if if you throw all your eggs in one basket and you've got no other option but to climb out, if your work ethic is good, you're going to get out of that hole. So I would say definitely give it a shot. I would say reduce the risk that you're going in with. Like I went in with basically no risk. I had 2 vehicles that I had to pay for, which is, in scale of thing is not that much to put up. And then you can kind of scale it up from there as you need it. Definitely watch what banks are willing to do. They're always willing to give you too much, which is not great.
Yep.
And then you struggle to pay it back or whatnot, which is terrible. But definitely just give it a shot. If you've got the work ethic to do it, then you'll make it work.
Jesse, you remind me, we've spoken to a few businesses in our little journey on podcasting, and one of them some time back told us that you have to be brave, and I think that's what you are, is being brave. You kept trying things, and now you found your place, and you were brave about it. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely correct. I took that leap of faith, especially going to Mildura. Like from where I was, it was like a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly something I could get to on the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
My wife actually pushed me into it. I kind of was hesitant, and my wife said, if you think you can do it, just do it and see what happens. And I was like, that is great.
There was an opportunity and an opening there for you.
There was. So it was during COVID times.
Yep.
So when we got locked down and everything like that. Now, I was obviously an essential service. They were able to operate. Because I ticked all their boxes during that COVID time, having like all the right things in place, they presented the opportunity to me, and I kind of took it on board and went from there.
That's really good. And they're moving more and more into parcel delivery, and letters are dropping away rapidly. So you're in the right spot. So
that is definitely correct. Our letters have reduced by like 50%, but our parcels have increased by like 100%.
It's not. Jesse, thank you. That's a great story. I hopefully one day our paths will cross in person, but I've really enjoyed listening to your story.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well done, Jesse, and you and I'll catch up soon.
Sounds good, Bill.
All right.
Take care, Jesse.
Have a great day. See ya.